Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 72. And we've got our top 5 from last week. Take it away, Josh.
Number 5 on last week's top 5 comics, Dark Knight number 8. Number 4 from the AVX crossover, Uncanny X-Men number 11. Well, perhaps I misspoke because it's actually tied with number 3, Aquaman number 8. So we've got a two-way tie between the Marvel DC race.
How many numbers you got in there? 4, 11, 8.
600. Next up, number 2 on the last week's top sellers, Teen Titans number 8. Very strong showing for Teen Titans going into the Culling crossover with other books that don't sell as well as it does. And number 1, AVX versus number 1. There was never any doubt AVX was going to rule, and it did. It doubled what Teen Titans sold last week. But an honorable mention, Giants Beware, the original graphic novel that we were pimping last week because we had the artist, Rafael Rosado in the store. Actually, if it qualified as a single issue, would have been the number 2 book. Sadly, as a trade, it does not, but it gets this honorable mention.
We had a great turnout for that event, and Raphael was kind enough to sign some of the copies that we still have at the store, as well as do some sketching in the copies. So we have a handful available. You should definitely pick up the book. It was a whole lot of all ages fun. This week, man, what a week. They're like 9, 15, a bunch of number 1s this week. It's crazy. And most of them are from DC Comics because they're launching their second wave of New 52 number 1s after they canceled the poor performers from the first batch. We have a fresh new batch of number 1s, including Earth 2 number 1, which is all kinds of awesome. Really, this is such a cool book. It's written by James Robinson, artwork by Nicola Scott, and it picks up, if you're reading Justice League, you absolutely want to read this book. It picks up during the Darkseid invasion in the Justice League story and then turns it on its head because this is a parallel Earth, it's a parallel universe, and anything can happen. And I really, really liked what happened during that conflict, as well as the introduction of Alan Scott and Jay Garrick. So this is going to be the formation of the Justice Society of America. And I won't get into the history of the JSA and the JLA, but just know that there are 52 parallel Earths in the new DC universe, and this is Earth 2. Everything else we've been talking about for the last 8 months has been on Earth 1. It was awesome.
It was great. No, I love James Robinson's stuff. He was a little wavery on the JLA stuff, but this is back in his wheelhouse doing JSA, and he did an awesome job. I really enjoyed it. And if you do like the parallel Earth stuff, there's a treat for you this week in Action Comics. It's actually set almost entirely on a parallel Earth with the Superman of Earth 23, I think it is. Also a very cool multiple Earth story. Well,
and one of the great things about this is he can do pretty much whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Characters can die, characters' origins are changing, just so much flexibility, and it's a great entry point for new and lapsed readers in addition to being a must-read for any DC Universe fan.
Also new this week, and following right out of that, is World's Finest. World's Finest traditionally features Superman and Batman in a team-up. This series features their analogs Huntress and Power Girl. Power Girl's back. But it spins pretty much directly out. If you're reading them both, I would read Earth 2 first, because what we have are the alternate reality. The Earth 2 Huntress and Power Girl are in the normal DC universe, the Earth 1 continuity, and it's about how they got there and how they're going to try and get back and what it's like. They've been here for, well, as we know, the events of Earth 1 take place the same time as the first arc of Justice League, so 5 years in the past. So they've been in our reality for 5 years. It's strongly suggested that the previous Huntress miniseries was this Huntress, so it should be in the same continuity. And it's a lot of fun. I'm not really a Power Girl fan. She's always seemed a little, I think Supergirl was interesting, and they have essentially the same power set, and Power Girl was always kind of the more older, responsible character, and that was less interesting to me. But in this one, she's a little younger, she's a little less sure of herself. She's not necessarily always thinking properly to control her powers and cover up her secret identity, and it's a lot of fun to see, you know, Helena, to see the Huntress and Power Girl teaming up, and how they kind of survive in this new reality, and how, strikingly, how easy it is for people that well-trained to just kind of slip into a whole new reality with no background and make it work for them. It also ties into Power Girl's appearances in
Mr. Terrific.
That one, yeah, yes. that book. Is that canceled yet?
That got canceled.
Oh, yeah.
But Mr. Terrific will return
in Earth 2.
Mr. Terrific and his balls.
His spheres.
His spheres. His T-spheres. Sorry. Anyway, Valiant Comics is back. And I was around during the Valiant days in the 90s. I was buying comics, but I honestly did not buy any. The only Valiant comics I bought was the Image Valiant crossover. I think it was Deathmate was the name of the series. So I wasn't into the Valiant universe the way some of you folks may have been. I know Valiant has a diehard fan base, and it's coming back, and they've got a very strong start here with Exo Man of War. And I didn't need to know anything about this character to pick it up and enjoy it. It actually takes place in the year, what, 400, 600 AD, with the Visigoths. And apparently Exo Man of War is a Visigoth. Who knew? And they're fighting the Romans, and then all of a sudden there's some aliens. Aliens are always visiting our world and messing stuff up, man. I just don't get it. But it was an engaging story. The artwork is by Carrie Nord, who's done some Conan work in the past. Very, very solid start to the Valiant universe. And they've got Harbinger coming out. They've got Bloodshot. They've got a whole bunch of other stuff in the works. So if you're a fan of Valiant, welcome back. Valiant, pick it up. If you've thought about trying it out, you're looking for something new and different with Visigoths, Exo Man of War #1 is for you.
I frequently get that question in the store. I like these Capes and Tights books, but what do you have with Visigoths?
And now we can show them this.
And now they know. Continuing or revisiting the DC New 52 Wave 2, we've got Dial H #1. Now, obviously, for longtime fans, this is sort of a return or reinterpretation of the Dial H for Hero line that's been printed sporadically throughout DC's history. And they're doing it a little different, and it was interesting to me because when I read it, I was thinking very much, this is a Vertigo book. Mm-hmm. And now that Vertigo's back in the universe with DC, I guess that doesn't mean a lot, but it felt like a Vertigo book, and I actually flipped through and noticed Karen Berger actually edited it, who is the editor-in-chief at Vertigo, and has been since day one, I think. But Dial H, the broad concept is there's a phone booth, you dial a number, and then you become a random superhero. And the
awesome.
Right? Who doesn't want random superpowers?
Unless you become Chimney Boy.
It's Boy Chimney.
Boy Chimney, sorry.
Boy Chimney's awesome, shut your mouth. And that is one of the kind of twists they're doing. Previously, it was a power set. In the old continuity, he would dial, and then he would become super strong or super fast or whatever the particular power was for 24 hours, or until the sun set, however it worked, or went up. But in the new one, it's almost like the character or the superhero sort of takes over or sort of fights with the personality of the person. So when he becomes, for example, the first hero is a new character called Boy Chimney, who's cool. You know, it's almost like he's multiple personality disorder. You've got different word boxes for Boy Chimney and for the person, the protagonist. And it's very engaging. It's interesting to see these powers not as solely beneficial. You know, it's a battle. You know, he needs this power to solve his problems or to save someone, but he also has to deal with the flashback from it. And I'll call it right now. Boy Chimney is awesome, and you're going to see him at comic conventions. You're going to see fan art.
And Josh is going to dress up as Boy Chimney for Free Comic Book.
I'm not shaped properly for Boy Chimney, but we will find someone who is, and I will have a very tall hat. But no, and also wrapping that up, we very nearly made the cut for GI Combat #1, but we felt a little heavy-handed to have all 4 of the New 52 Wave 2 in there. But GI Combat #1, we've got a lead story set on the island of Time Forgot.
The land that time forgot. Yes.
The land before time.
The war that time forgot.
The war that time forgot.
The land before time. No.
Yes. Written by J.T. Kroll, and then a backup story with the Unknown Soldier, written by Justin Palmiotti and Jimmy Gray.
Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray.
They're the same person.
Set in present day Middle East for the Unknown Soldier.
That's also new with a #1.
It's very good. New #1.
Yeah, very exciting.
Oh, Batwing #9. Batwing #9 is a tie-in to Night of the Owls, as is Detective Comics #9 this week. But Batwing edged out Detective for me as the better of the two. And I think it's the introduction of this character, of Batwing, I think is going to be, it's one of the more meaningful character introductions of the DC Universe in recent years. He's a likable character. He's very much like the African Bruce Wayne. And he's just cool. I mean, the first story arc, he's fighting this warlord in Africa, and you know, now he's in Gotham and he's protecting Lucius Fox, you know, Bruce Wayne's right-hand man who makes all the cool weapons and toys and such. And it was just a really solid one-off story. I mean, it's part of the overall Night of the Owl storyline, but it was everything in that issue, it's a done in one. So if you just want to follow the Night of the Owl storyline, you can pick this up. And if you like Batwing, keep reading with Batwing number 10. If you don't, then just read the issue number 9, because it was good. The Night of the Owls tie-ins have been very strong so far.
Oh, very super strong. And Batwing is awesome. You're right about that. I would almost disagree, though, about him being the African Bruce Wayne. He has that kind of persona, that plan for everything. But one of the great things about Batwing is he's not just a transplant of Batman. You know, his background is very much rooted in Africa and what's been going on in Africa and the culture there.
Right.
And
I mean, he looks like Bruce Wayne, but African. That's what I meant to say.
Yes.
He's like 6'2", and he's built well, and he's black. So that's what I meant.
That's what you meant. But it was still exceptionally cool. Batwing's awesome.
Yeah, and what Josh is saying, and this plays an important part in the story, is he doesn't come from wealth. I mean, he and his brother, I mean, they were kid soldiers in this warlord's army trying to survive in Africa. And there's a great point in this when he's having to kind of kiss up to the ambassador from Africa who's at this function in Gotham. Who is
dirty and not especially a good guy.
Just such a scummy guy, and he's biting his tongue, and he eventually gets his due. But Batwing number 9, check it out.
Super awesome. You know what's cool? Daredevil.
No way.
Yeah, I know. For maybe the 12th consecutive time on our program.
And this is issue number 12.
Daredevil makes the list. And again, coming out of the Omega Effect crossover, this is a self-contained issue. You don't need to have read any of the previous stuff, though you should. But you can just pick up this Daredevil and read it. It's a great story. It's a framing story about Matt and a relationship with a new romantic interest. But it's primarily actually a flashback about his relationship with Foggy Nelson, which is just great. I'm a huge Marvel fanboy. I love flashbacky stuff we didn't see at the time, and it's true to the character. Mark Waid just is really good at writing Daredevil.
Well, and one of the things he does really well, and as I was reading this, in the first page or so, he gives you everything you need to know about Daredevil, which is what was great about the comics in the 70s and 80s and the 60s, is that you would have kind of that little recap, or it was not the word balloons, but the thought boxes would kind of recap who the character was, how he got his powers, and what he's doing with his life. And Waid does an awesome job with that. This is also the first issue with art by Chris Samnee, who's going to be one of the rotating artists on Daredevil. And it's awesome. I loved his stuff on Thor the Mighty Avenger, and he's done some Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, and now he's going to be pinch hitting on Daredevil, and it was awesome. Speaking of awesome, the Spider number 1, not to be confused with Spider-Man or any other title with the word spider in it. This is from Dynamite Entertainment, and this is the pulp hero, the Spider, who I knew absolutely nothing about before.
Not to be confused with the Pope
issue.
hero, the Spider.
Yes. The Pope has a spider. He's like his secret agent.
Yes.
This is written by David Liss, and I will tell you that is the only reason I picked up this book, is because David Liss wrote Mystery Men at Marvel last year, which was one of my favorite miniseries, and it was completely overlooked by 99.9% of you, and deserves to be looked at again in collected edition. We have it, by the way.
Yeah, we do. We have it?
Yeah.
Oh. But also something, the Black Panther Deadliest Man Alive story arc, after when Daredevil became Black Panther for some reason, was all written by Liss.
The character Daredevil didn't become Black Panther.
Nope, it happened.
And then Bruce Wayne was black.
Daredevil went off to go walk about. Black Panther took over.
David Liss is more known as a novelist than a comic book writer, and he writes pulpy stuff, crime stuff, noir stuff, and does a great job with the Spider. It's set in present day, apparently. I wasn't sure, when we were reading it, where we were going to be looking, but it is set in present day, and he is a vigilante of sorts, and in his civilian identity, he's an attorney who's working with the police force.
I'm not sure he's an attorney.
Maybe he's not an attorney.
No, his friend was the attorney.
It was late when I was reading it. That's right. But he's like a consultant for the cops.
Right.
And so he's called in on this case. And the ending, do not flip to the end of this book because it will spoil it for you. But the ending was awesome. It's one of the best endings I've seen in comics in a while. So thumbs up for the Spider.
Go Spider. And
go Web go.
Shazam. And rounding out our list of awesome new number 1s, we have Mind the Gap number 1. This is from Jim McCann, who you may remember from Return of the Dapper Men, or you may have never heard of at all.
Hawkeye and Mockingbird. That's probably what he's most.
Oh.
Well, Return of the Dapper Men is what he won the Eisner
for.
But yes, carry on.
My Wayward Son. Mind the Gap is great. It's a whodunit. We've got a person accosted and in a coma type situation, and we see both her family in the real world, and we see sort of this inner world or visions or her visitation to this other reality or whatever's happening in her brain damaged skull. And it's so cool. It's a whodunit, and there's so many layers to it. It's like I had to go back and read it twice because there were so many little things that I had to put together to try and figure out who I thought had done it. And it's just so cool. I don't know, there aren't words.
You know what? It is really hard to describe this one. It's another, I think it's going to be another hit for Image. It's another 48-page oversized issue for $2.99 from Image Comics. I'm comparing it to Saga, but not story-wise. But as far as feeling like you get everything you need to know in this first issue to get you to want to come back for the second issue, which is what a good comic does, and a good story does. And the artwork is really solid. I don't remember the name of the artist. I'm sorry, folks. But it's the guy that does the covers for Morning Glories. And visually, it's incredible. Story-wise, it was actually written as a TV pilot. The writer Jim McCann moved from New York out to LA and was trying to put together a treatment for his first pilot, and instead of doing it as a traditional pilot, he wrote it as a comic book. He's a big fan of music. Music plays a big role in this story, and you need to trust us on this one, guys. We're hand selling it at the counter. It's one that you're probably going to overlook on the rack because there's no big name attached to it. There's nothing flashy on the cover, but it's one that we both highly recommend and suggest that you pick up and read, and I would be very surprised if you didn't walk away enjoying it. Also, little known fact, writer Jim McCann and I went to the same university, graduated a year apart from each other. I think I remember seeing him on campus. I think that's why I remember liking it. Go Xavier, University, Musketeers. Woohoo!
Isn't it like Xavier, like the guy with the mind powers?
No, in fact, there were T-shirts when I was there. It says, it's Xavier, and then they spelled it out phonetically with a Z, not eggs, E-G-G-S, Xavier. Anyway, mind the gap. We loved it. Good going, Jim. That is it for this week, and man, what a week it was. I mean, what a week it is, because we're still in the middle of it.
And what's the biggest thing this week?
Well, by the time you see this, you may have a little time. Free Comic Book Day, this Saturday.
I was actually talking about Avengers vs. X-Men 3. Oh, that came out too.
That is not... Oh, yeah, the biggest thing. Josh is wrong. The biggest thing is Free Comic Book Day, followed by the Avengers movie, followed by Avengers vs. X-Men #3.
Then mind the gap. Yes.
Avengers vs. X-Men 3 came out this week. We're not necessarily going to talk about that anymore because you're all buying it and it's awesome and it's fun and it
comes out a book comes out every week, so it's all we'd ever talk about.
Yes, but it's out. It's here. Captain America fights Wolverine. Enough said. But anyway, Free Comic Book Day, Saturday. I think we should get this up on Friday, which will give you a few hours to come out to Free Comic Book Day. But it's going to be our biggest, best Free Comic Book Day ever. There's so much going on. Hit our Facebook page for the details. And we'll be back, I'm sure, next week to give you the lowdown on how it went. And maybe we'll post some images and a bunch of fun stuff, some video. So check back. All right, we appreciate the comments that we got suggesting things for our new format or format-wise. Keep those coming, please. We're definitely looking at each one and trying to figure out the best road or the best way to go with our video show and that sort of thing. So thank you very much. Until next time, America, good night.